Wattson has shaken things up in the ranked meta and completely changed the way that all high-level tournaments and games are played. She's actually an extremely valuable legend to your team and has a pretty high overall score. Not the best for solos, but we're gonna get into her score and why it's a 12. Looking at her tactical, her movement and reposition ability is a straight 0. Her fences cannot help her in any way to rotate. As far as engagement and retreat, I'm actually going to give this a +2. It's not a perfect 3 because it takes time to put the fences down. They're easy to see from enemies and they can be destroyed. But if you can get a fence up, you've got a solid chance of slowing the enemy down or at least giving your team an advantage in some way, which also brings me over to teamwork. It's not a perfect 3 because your team can deactivate it and many enemies can just destroy it, but it does really help your team. If there's a Wattsoned off area, you have a good chance of defending that. It makes your position extremely defendable, and it's just good for your team. Caustic gets a 1 because he blinds his teammates, and Wattson we're going to give a 2 because it doesn't really affect her teammates too much. On to Wattson's ultimate. Movement and reposition is actually a +2. Because if you can place your ultimate down, you don't have to reposition most of the time. You get free shields, you're protected from ults, you're protected from grenade spam. You really don't need to have that movement necessity that you do in most situations. With this, you can actually set up a position and stay there. It's not a +3 because it can be destroyed, and movement I feel like is more important. So for that reason, we'll give it a +2. Close to perfect though. As far as engagement and retreat, I'm actually going to give this a +2 as well, because if you have a Wattson ult down, you can place fences extremely fast, giving you that protection. It protects you from grenades, and it gives you a slight increase in speed, I feel like, if you're playing Wattson. I could be wrong there, but this will also give you shields, and I feel like this can help you really win a fight. So in this scenario, we're going to give this a +2. Teamwork, it's not a +3 because it's a slow healing of the shields and it's in one spot. But it does help your team regain shields and it helps you lock down a position. Now that you can only have one ult at a time, it's not a +3 for teamwork, so I'm only going to give it a +2 here. Wattson's passive. Her passive is relatively unused, but her passive gets her ultimate, so it's very good because her ultimate is her main thing. Her passive is sort of helpful for her, sort of helpful for the team, so we're going to give it a +1 in both of those categories due to the fact that it can get you your ultimate. This will bring Wattson into an overall score of 12. Now, that's a high ranking that puts her in the B category. Now, in this B category, she is alongside Pathfinder, Wraith, and is actually a highly effective legend. You'll see her in a lot of ranked games, almost all, because of how much of a necessity she is. She's in high-level tournaments, and she, again, has changed the way the ranked game is played. So in this regard, she's an extremely valuable legend. Probably not so much for pubs, but again, she gets a high score because of her usefulness for the team. As far as buffing and nerfing, Wattson's fine where she is. I don't think there's any change needed. She's good in ranked, and she's strong in her own regards, and bad in other regards, but that's by design. I think Wattson's perfectly feasible as a character where she is.